Welcome to TodayBefore, History Podcast. I am Lee Rohn. Today, we're digging into a date that stands as a haunting scar on the American map, December 29th, 1890. We're talking about the Wounded Knee Massacre. It's a story that for decades was labeled a battle in history books, but as you look at the details, it becomes painfully clear why we call it a massacre today. To understand what happened at Wounded Knee, we have to understand the desperation of that winter. The great buffalo herds, the lifeblood of the Plains Indians, had been wiped out. The Lakota people were confined to reservations, watching their children grow weak from hunger and disease. Their spiritual world was collapsing, and in that darkness, a spark of hope appeared. A prophet named Wovoka had a vision. He spoke of a ghost dance. He promised that if the people danced, the earth would be renewed, the white settlers would disappear, and the ancestors would return. For the Lakota, this wasn't a call to war. It was a desperate spiritual cry for a world that no longer existed. They even wore special ghost shirts, believing they were blessed and could protect them from harm. But the US government didn't see a prayer. They saw a threat. The Indian agents at the reservations panicked, fearing an uprising. They called for the military, and soon the 7th Cavalry was dispatched. This was the same unit that had been defeated at the Little Bighorn years earlier, and many say they were looking for a chance to reclaim their honor. They intercepted a band of Miniconjou Lakota led by Chief Bigfoot. Now, I want you to picture Chief Bigfoot. He wasn't a warrior on a warpath. He was an old man, dying of pneumonia, coughing up blood in the freezing cold. He was leading a group of about 350 people, mostly women, children, and the elderly, toward the Pine Ridge Reservation, seeking nothing more than food and safety. They were forced to camp at a spot called Wounded Knee Creek. As the sun rose on December 29, the Lakota found themselves completely surrounded. On the hills overlooking the camp, the soldiers had positioned 4 Hotchkiss mountain guns. These were early versions of rapid-fire cannons, capable of shredding everything in their path. The order was given to disarm the Lakota men. The tension in the air was thick, like a wire ready to snap. And then, it happened. A man named Black Coyote, who was deaf, was holding his rifle. He had paid a lot for it, and it was one of his few possessions. When the soldiers tried to grab it, he didn't understand why. A scuffle broke out. A single shot rang out into the air, and in an instant the world turned into a nightmare. The soldiers opened fire from all sides, but the most devastating part was the Hotchkiss guns on the hill. They began raining shells down onto the teepees, where the women and children were huddled for warmth. It wasn't a fight, it was chaos. Many of the soldiers were so caught up in the frenzy that they ended up shooting their own men in the crossfire. By the time the firing stopped, the ground was stained red. Nearly 300 Lakota lay dead or dying in the snow. Those who survived the initial blast tried to run, but they were hunted down by cavalrymen for miles across the frozen prairie. But for me, the detail that truly captures the horror happened 4 days later. A massive blizzard had covered the site in a thick blanket of ice and snow. When a burial party finally went out to clear the bodies, they found a scene frozen in time. And there, tucked underneath the body of her frozen mother, they found a miracle. A tiny baby girl, still alive after 4 days in the sub-zero temperatures. Her mother had wrapped her in a heavy buffalo robe, giving her own life to shield her child from the wind and the lead. They named her Zintkala Nuni, Lost Bird. She was adopted by a white officer, but she lived her life caught between 2 worlds, never truly belonging to either. She became a living symbol of a people who were broken but refused to disappear. The US government later awarded 20 medals of honor for the actions at Wounded Knee. To this day, there are ongoing efforts by historians and tribal leaders to have those medals rescinded. Wounded Knee marked the end of the so-called Indian Wars, but the wound it left remains open in the heart of the American West. It's a reminder of what happens when fear replaces understanding. Thank you for joining me on TodayBefore History Podcast. I am Lee Rohn, and I'll see you next time.